This is the computer.
On the internet.
Here we are. Little Sunday night action. I can't remember the last time we did a Sunday night pod.
Sometimes the schedule dictates it for us.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2 this month too, I think.
Oh, we do?
I think in a few weeks. Yep, on the 27th we have another Sunday night game.
Does my mic sound okay? Does it sound too loud?
No.
Nope.
Sounds good.
Okay.
CJ, you would agree?
I would agree. Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Ever since CJ switched to his cool camera, there's a little bit of latency between your voice and your picture.
There is. I've been trying to work on it, but it's
Mr. Hot Shit, good camera guy.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm gonna revert back.
I'm just now seeing the divider. Is this the first time the divider's been in?
No, it was up there the last time. We even commented on it.
You mean the room divider?
The room divider. Yeah, that's
it. Yeah,
the one we all know.
That's right.
CJ's. There's someone doing massages.
Go back there.
There's somebody doing
there
massages
and just change during the podcast. Slip into something more comfortable.
Sure,
I would like that.
Sure, this is way too formal.
Yeah,
for the show.
All right, give it another 30 seconds or so. Somebody mentioning in the chat, your hair is growing fast, and I still haven't set up the GoFundMe, which I need to do. It has to be for the playoffs.
Yeah, now I'm like
the forehead mustache.
Now I'm like hesitant to like get a normal haircut because like this is right around the time that I would go and get a haircut again.
Yeah, I would give it a minute.
Now I feel like I gotta wait to see whatever happens.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast on Sunday night, being recorded on Sunday night, is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Big Barker Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process. Register for our bi-monthly giveaway at briggsauction.com/Ricky. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged, and Kinetic Skateboarding get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. You know, the line was Sixers minus 12.5, but anybody who has been following this team for the last 10 years knew that tonight's game against the Magic was going to be a close one. And it was. Boy, what a piece of shit that was. But they come away with a win. So we will talk about that. Doc Rivers says that both Joel Embiid and James Harden will take some games off down the stretch. Didn't see that tonight. Brett Brown helps create an NFT, and Robert Covington posts an Instagram comment that gets everyone riled up. Before we get going, good news. We had mentioned one of our listeners by the name of Chris was in Florida for a wedding and was in a pretty severe car accident and was in bad shape, but Chris is doing better. I am told that he will go from the hospital to rehab tomorrow. He still has a long way to go, but it is heading in the right direction. His cousin Rory updated us. So great news, Chris. Still sending prayers and love, and keep up the recovery. That is great news to hear. And as well, I'd like to say that there is a new Kinetic sweatshirt. Put it up on the screen. Isn't that sweet? The green with the gold. I think they did it for St. Patrick's Day, but pretty sweet. I ordered one. New Kinetic hoodie, kineticskateboarding.com. I'm wearing this Kinetic one. I don't think they sell this one anymore. Now that spring is coming, it is, thin hoodie weather. And they'll have that. Also shorts, T-shirts, sneakers you can't get anywhere else. And, of course, skateboards and snowboards. Kineticskateboarding.com. Use promo code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy whose playoff motherfucker status will surely be tested, so say the Sixers, for the rest of this regular season. That is one Mike Levin.
They tried it.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah. Never. Yeah. Magic on the road, Magic at home, Magic the Gathering, any of all. The Sixers have a tough time with it. Yeah, I mean, a very unpleasant game, an incredibly unpleasant game. Feels like every good Tobias game is always a bad everybody else game.
If they have to resort to a good Tobias game, it means nothing else is going great.
Yeah, I mean, he played well. I don't know. I don't want to blame everything on Tobias. He played well tonight. He had a huge three. That was a great. How about Tobias hitting a corner three off the catch from a Harden drive? That's really nice. We needed to see that. That's great. Had a couple good finishes. They used him on that. Doc loves using him on that cut baseline ATO when he cuts middle. Nice and one there. So it was nice. Nice Tobias game. Very good. But it does seem like everyone always has to bend over backwards for okay, please play well. we want you to play well so bad. We're willing to lose this game so you play well. But he did. And even though he missed that awful layup off the perfect inbound set, that was pretty brutal. But he made up for it. So God bless him. God bless Tobias. But yes, aside from that, a deeply unpleasant game.
I hate doing this so quickly. And I asked you to lower my panic level after the Nets game, but I'm just fucking watching Harden, man, and
the weirdest thing, so when the trade happened, it was one of the biggest and most pleasant surprises was they were playing with juice.
Yes,
a passer of Harden's caliber opened a ton of things up for this team. It wasn't just a Harden ISO and stand there, everybody else stand there. It wasn't just an Embiid ISO and everybody stand there. It was there was Maxey knifing through the defense and Matisse cutting well and the ball swinging around. It felt like it had life and everyone was having a blast. And it seemed like something happened in between whatever right before the game before Brooklyn and the Brooklyn game where it doesn't look like anyone's having a good time anymore, and the offense has slowed down to a crawl.
Even the screens that Embiid is setting in those first few games that looked like they had purpose and then he was doing something afterwards, we're back to the old ones where he sets the screen and then stands there or slips it, so he doesn't even have to set it.
Had a couple nice thing. Yeah, there was a couple nice plays that Embiid did slip the screen, and Harden had a really nice pass to find him on the roll. One of those surprised it got to him type of plays. With which he finished with an and one to tie the game. And later he did it on a dunk that they ended up waving off and said it wasn't continuation, but it was a nice play. He's not going to do it all the time, but I can deal with a once in a while type sprinkling. But the biggest thing to me, yes, Harden looks like he can't really beat anybody off the dribble at this point. He's just sort of barreling into people, although it seemed like he got away from that a little bit towards the end.
And it doesn't look like he can jump.
I couple nice. I would disagree. I would say on the defensive end, he's getting rebounds. He's coming up with some things. He's making some nice plays on the ball. On that end, I'm honestly more impressed with his defense than I would have expected. 3 more steals tonight. But it's the off of his drives seems like he has limited burst there. And he took a bunch of threes and it seemed like a lot of them were short. Did hit one off the catch. That was nice. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to me is Maxey. It's for whatever reason, everything has slowed down so much, and the last 2 games, Maxey has been relegated to just stand in the corner, and he looks bummed about something. Not to be a body language guy, but there's a big difference in Maxey when he's playing with the level of joy he normally plays with, and when he's just seems like he's kind of going through the motions. I don't know. I want an inside scoop on did something did someone get upset? Something happened. I don't know. It seems very bizarre. The question of Maxey was that third guy, and now he's taking 10 shots in 45 minutes. I don't know. He didn't play perfect ball in those attempts. He did have he bungled a few transition opportunities. He threw one really weird pass off of Joel's foot, but he was first to the jump ball after the Matisse challenge. So it was really nice to have a player that fast to anticipate that play. But yeah, I don't have an answer for it. Like the last 2 games, Maxey has seemed like a different person. So I don't know why that's happening.
And your point about the body language guy, but it's a real thing, whether they look happy or not happy. You know, Embiid's a different guy when the last couple of games we've drifted into sort of the pouty Embiid, for lack of a better word. You know, I don't know, man. The Harden got here, and all of a sudden it was the first thing was Harden's fine physically, and then we were here a few games. In the last 2 games, he's looked fucking. I mean, what does he have? 5 field goals in the last 2 games.
He had 5 tonight.
Okay,
five of 19
7.
for 26 points. He's still like I'm worried about, and this is something even with beyond tonight, was like both Embiid and Harden have a tendency to they get fouled and they draw fouls, but sometimes when they go too far into it, then they're just like ruining possessions and ruining offensive flow because they're hunting so much.
Yep.
And especially in the playoffs, they're just not going to get those calls. And so I'd rather them just like, if the most effective way for them to be is like be physical, anticipate those things, but like the goal shouldn't be to get fouled. It should be like, I'll draw contact and finish through it. Like that seems like sometimes when they're just like grifting, a couple times it works. Obviously, they get to the line a shit ton. They got to the line 32 times tonight combined. That's ridiculous. But it would be cool to see them like effectively do that rather than I'm either getting this call or the ball is going sailing into the sky to no one in particular. And that is a concern. And because Harden wasn't really creating tonight, like I don't think he had maybe 1 assist in the first half. That was kind of odd. They're just not getting easy looks. They shot 38% from the field as a team. And when Harden's not creating for other people, the second unit offense, the Harden only lineups are really going to suffer. And they did. Just wasn't getting anything easy out of it. And yeah, I would love to see him try to use his floater more, passing on the move a little bit. He did pass on the move on that Tobias 3 at the end. Harden had that weird hesitation on 3, which feels like a Sixers rite of passage, where he had like, it was wide open 3 from straight away. And he was like, he like kind of jab stepped to himself. Nobody was there. And then he ended up swinging it to Niang. And it was just like, oh my God, what's going on? But he's still very like, look, as far as the regular season part of me goes, like, yes, had they lost this game because they were trying to do shit, they were trying different experiments and they were trying to make things work, and it's just like a little clunky because it just takes time, fine. But it seems like they're not trying stuff. It seems like they're narrowing the stuff that they do and becoming even more dependent on the most extreme version of every player. Like Embiid has to get fouled 1,000 times. Harden has to like have everybody spread out and nobody nearby. Like it just seems, if there was flow to it and they were just missing shots, that would be fine. I wouldn't bother me. If there's some miscommunications on defense, like DeAndre's horrible out in space. It feels like Niang and Isaiah Joe got caught up on a bunch of things in a row. Seems like Maxey is still figuring out how to defend with these units and stuff. Although I believe in him as a defender individually, like knowing the system that they're playing, he seems to struggle with sometimes. So those things take time, but the past 2 games, and it's just 2 games, and one of them is against the Magic, so obviously our arch rivals, the people we fear the most. But it is weird. Something is weird.
Something's weird. It's like they all got bad news or something, and they're not allowed to tell anyone, right?
That is exactly what it is. I was like looking at Maxey in the free throw line. I was like, did like his house catch fire again? Like what is going on? Is everyone just did Embiid threaten to slap the shit out of somebody behind the scenes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is.
The vibes which were so good, notoriously good, famously good, are no longer that way.
And the thing that's crushing me is that when the trade happened and everyone on the Brooklyn side was like, you just put him next to Durant and Kyrie and Philly didn't treat him right. And we're all like, yeah, go ahead. Keep waiting and seeing. We know you don't. And all the Nets fans were doing the same thing to us with Harden. And I'm just terrified. I'm just fucking terrified.
No, I don't disagree. And I definitely don't disagree with like some of the feelings that the Nets have. It was just that like he is still very good, even if not his peak. And the Sixers were missing so much of what he does, even when he's not that good.
I agree with that.
that like he was just like deeply necessary and less necessary for Brooklyn. And Harden has played defense so far, which has been nice to see. But yeah, definitely the lows are low, as we talked about last podcast. Like the lows are low, but a win's a win, and seeding doesn't matter. They're going to be out of the play-in, which I was very concerned about for most of the season when they looked sluggish until Embiid took off. Embiid is in like his version of a slump, which is still like 35, 16, and 7, which is insane. But yeah, like games like this in the playoffs when they look as slow and pointless and their offense seems to be going nowhere. They're not getting easy looks in transition. They're not getting back on defense. Like they're going to lose those games in the playoffs. They're pretty handily probably.
This is a Tyrese Maxey rookie card. It is a Panini Emergent Tyrese Maxey rookie card right here. We have a few Tyrese Maxey ones, but we'll give away this one. If you want to win this one, go to briggsauction.com/Ricky. That is briggsauction.com/Ricky. All you got to do is put your email address in. We give away stuff every couple of weeks. I've been obsessed with the Briggs auction website. They have auctions every week. They're mostly estate auctions. So the one right now is the Discovery at Briggs. The bidding ends March 18th, briggsauction.com. It's all kinds of stuff in there, like furniture. So the first thing I saw were these T206 tobacco cards. So I saw a Ty Cobb one last week, and I missed out on bidding on it. Dude, you get some of these and just get them professionally graded? Come on. Look at this. I grew up, my first car I bought selling baseball cards. And then this, I imagine Mike relaxing on. The lion-carved Chase Lounge. With the lion. Do you see that?
That is the Chase Lounge that you need to be in when you're complaining to someone about the Sixers.
Yep. And then there were a bunch in this week, in the March 18th one, there's a bunch of autograph, like framed autograph stuff. There's this Whitney Houston one, of course, Whitney Houston, who has passed away, but framed autograph thing of Whitney Houston,
but
which
signed
is amazing,
before she passed away.
Obviously.
Sure.
And then there was one of Eartha Kitt, who was Catwoman in the original Batman TV show, which is awesome. And there's a bunch of Broadway playbill stuff that signed it up there in the March 18th one. And then March 25th, there's an estate auction. Look, for the furniture part, you don't have to worry about you order new furniture now, you're waiting 6 months, 8 months, a year because of the trouble in getting the materials to make it. It's not that way at Briggs. Briggs is in Delco, been there for 4 generations. Family owned, family operated, briggsauction.com. You can either get the app, search Briggs Auction in the App Store or Google Play, or just go to the website, briggsauction.com. They can also sell your stuff if you want. If you have an estate, if you're downsizing your home, info@briggsauction.com, send an email. And again, go to briggsauction.com/Ricky to register for the Tyrese Maxey rookie card. We got a great note from last week's winner is Peter Nelius. We got a great note from Joe, who won something a few weeks ago. And he said, working with Steven at Briggs to receive the items was a breeze. I even received some extras from Briggs, including in the winnings. I cannot emphasize the ease of working with Briggs enough, including the website and app. It's awesome. Love Briggs Auction. briggsauction.com/Ricky. All right. So the other thing that I had on my list for this game was Thybulle, just looking, when he looks bad on offense, sort of like Harden, he looks almost clueless, like he just got dropped into there, quantum leap style, in the middle of a play, and then doesn't play most of the second half, if I remember correctly, and then they just throw him in at the end there. I wonder what he is in the playoffs, man. Like, I wonder if there aren't some games where we barely see him, because I just wonder what's going on in his head on offense sometimes, especially after. Now, to his defense, right, when everything was going well offensively, he seemed to find a place. Mm-hmm. But in these last couple of games, both offensively and defensively, he's just seemed really, really lost.
Yeah, I mean, had a really game-saving block that Doc challenged. On calling, I think that was huge. A couple nice plays. It says he only had 1 steal and no blocks, which is wrong. But yeah, definitely some spotty at best defensive game from him. A couple, like a bad reach foul on Franz at the end there. Yeah, he's when Harden's not on, it seems like they've only been together for a few games, but when Harden's not on, it seems like Matisse is also not on. It seems like he can make him look good and he can make him look as pointless as he is by himself sometimes. And it's problematic because, like, you know, Georges Niang is like so important to this team.
Too important.
Incredibly important to this
team.
team.
The Sixers lead the league the last 3 years in players that shouldn't be so important that are so important.
Yeah. I think the positive way to look at it is like, wow, look at this guy that they found, not that he found him out of nowhere, but like, look at this guy that like has become a positive contributor that they didn't expect.
Right. Thriving.
With like Shake in the bubble season, starting a playoff game, all that. You know, you think about like, you know, the Dodgers always have random guys that are like a 26-year-old rookie who's like, you know, starting a playoff game or coming in huge minutes, batting like 340 or something crazy like that. And you look at that as a positive, but it does feel for the Sixers like a negative because it's like, God, if they didn't have this random guy that they kind of lucked into, then what would they just play with 4 guys? Like, I don't know. So it's tough to Matisse having to take out Niang in those Maxey, Harden, Harris, Embiid, especially in games when Tobias is playing well, they're not going to take him out. So it's going to be Matisse is going to be the one to take him out. And then you're looking at those lineups and you're like, you're asking Embiid to do a lot in those lineups defensively.
A lot.
And against guys who can shoot, and Orlando has a bunch of centers who can shoot. You pull him away from the rim, he's just not going to go for it that much. Maybe in clutch moments in the last few minutes he'll do it, but he's basically going to dare big men to shoot over him all the time. And they hit shots. And so you wish that Harden needs to be deputized to make Matisse work on offense. He has to make him work so that his defense can live. Because even when his defense is middling, or splotchy, then he can still make a play like he did tonight. Had a bunch of like, you know, tip the ball out of a scrum type of thing to like get us in the guy. He's just like the longest and most athletic guy on the team. So like he's helpful to be in there. But to your point, like sometimes when he's on offense, he looks really, really bad, and it needs to be Harden's job to like make him look good and make him playable and find ways to exist there.
Did you see that quote from Embiid about Thybulle? And I guess so. There's video of a spirited conversation with Harden, Embiid, and Sam Cassell in practice. Mm-hmm. And Embiid said they were basically arguing about pick and roll. And Embiid said that he had watched the Brooklyn game again, and he had seen Thybulle pass up a 3, and it basically was complaining about people not shooting open threes, and said that when they were effective, to your point, that when they were effective doing that, they were finding spots for Thybulle, and they hadn't been. And it was basically Embiid just complaining that people weren't shooting open shots again. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Thybulle didn't shoot 1 3 tonight. And there were a couple of times when he had an open-ish one. He's got a relatively quick and high release. Like, he can get them off. Mm-hmm. And he passed it up and just dribbled into some weird fucking hook shot or something. Which is
he thinks that's like kind of his special move that like he has touched. He must hit that all the time in practice because he goes to it like he's like here we go. Because I have those kind of shots also, and they're not good, but like I've hit them once, so like I can probably do it again in like the biggest moment, and it's just not the case. I want to ask like people that watch practice, like reporters, like does Matisse hit that shot in practice? Because he seems to once in a while have like a weird like half hook finger roll type of thing, but it seems like he's like doing what Ben used to do when Ben would shy away from contact and just like scoot around everybody and just like hope to like serve a tray up for a layup, and it just like doesn't seem to go very well.
And the other 2 notes I had, at least Isaiah Joe played a little bit as Quirk stays nailed to the bench. And man, as everyone was saying DeAndre Jordan was cooked, I didn't totally believe that he could be as cooked as they said he was, but he does look pretty cooked.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, cooked. I think the biggest issue is defense. You just need him to be enough of a rim protector and like sort of orchestrate when to switch, when not to, how to make sure that no one's getting like wide open looks. And it seems like in back-to-back games, there's been like blown coverages. And whether it's his fault, it's hard to know like who is supposed to do what. You just sort of see someone, high stepping to the rim and go like, well, somebody fucked up and DeAndre's in now. And that doesn't happen when Embiid's in. So it's probably DeAndre's fault. But yeah, it's gotta be way more crisp.
So it was notable, given what we went through with Ben Simmons, to watch Markelle Futlz, I think, in that they both sort of, it wasn't a similar thing, but it was in the same world of things that happened to them. And I think most people in Philly are cheering for Futlz, and his teammates also seem to really enjoy him. But, and I did, he barely played last year and before he tore his ACL. And I watched him a good bit, I would say 2 years ago. Physically, he looks like he has upgraded, he looks more, he never looked particularly explosive in college or even when he was with the Sixers, but his body seems to have evolved a little bit, and he's certainly pretty confident. And, he looked fucking great. I feel good for him, like really good for him. And that was all I had on it. I thought he looked really good, way better than he ever looked here, ever, even summer league, whatever. He just looked like he had a pop to him that he never quite had here.
It's hard to really remember. He was so many fiascos ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel nothing negative about Futlz himself. The Sixers fans were already always incredibly supportive about Futlz and Ben while they were here, and fucking everybody. And there's like a handful of, I would say, like national reporters that listen to this podcast, and it's hard to like, I think it's the first Spider-Man, the Peter Parker Spider-Man, where he's like stopping a train in New York by himself. And like that feels like me with like an avalanche of bad takes where I'm just trying to like just by myself try to stop it from like becoming a popular narrative, and I never succeed. But like Futlz was incredibly supportive here.
Oh yeah, supported.
Like incredibly supported, like so much to a fault. And so was Simmons. Even people that didn't like him or didn't believe in him as a player was still like, go get fouled, work through your issues at the foul line. Like, we believe in you to go in there. Like, you have to work through it. Like, fine. And now anytime either guy comes here, it becomes like a referendum on how mean Philly fans were to them. And that's just a lie. It is straight up a lie. Like, I was listening to the Magic broadcast for some of this, and Futlz hit a step back three. It looked ugly as shit. Like,
but it went in, and he shot it.
But it went in, and he shot it fine.
Yep.
And they were like, that had to feel good. Like him looking back at the Sixers bench, like something to the effect of like, you shouldn't have traded me or something. And it's like, no, of course they should have traded me.
You made us trade you.
Of course.
Yeah.
All of this, it's all, I think, with the Simmons thing especially, it became the like, as if the reason Simmons is on another team is because there was a popular movement of fans that were like forcing their hand, and the Sixers simply had to trade him.
By the way,
that just wasn't the case, and it's just
Fultz's
frustrating
defense,
that like it always devolves into that like lowest common denominator. Like, obviously Philly fans are mean, and anytime a player does anything well, it's because in spite of Philly fans who were rooting against them this whole time. Like, it's just not the case. And
Fultz, to his credit, said that the fans were good. He has said that. He has said that the fans were supportive. So I don't know. I'm cheering for him. I know what your answer is on this, but I have to ask it. From this point forward, given everything we know about both situations, who do you think will have a more productive rest of his career, Fultz or Simmons?
Well, the Ben stuff, I just have no fucking idea.
I know you have to factor that in.
But I honestly no fucking clue, because he's not playing right now. Who knows when he plays? Like, There's only so many times I can just keep assuming, like, come on here and be like, well, he's eventually going to play. Like, I don't fucking know. I have no idea. Fultz, like, I loved Fultz coming out of college. I loved Fultz coming out of college way more than I loved Ben coming out of college. It wasn't particularly close. And if that guy still exists, I don't think he does. I don't think that guy will ever exist. The Fultz that he was at UW coming into the league before like whatever happened. So do I think he can be like a more like smooth Elfrid Payton? Absolutely. With a probably better shot if you give him enough space, for sure. Like I think he'll probably be a backup point guard in some pretty high level plays. Like maybe he'll find like a campaign type renaissance somewhere where he's like on a good team. But it's hard to imagine him because he is an incredibly smooth, gifted ball handler, seeing the court, like finding his spots. He's big. Like
he's a better passer than I remember.
He always was.
Okay.
He was that guy. He didn't, but because of the shot going away from him, he didn't get to show that like so much of basketball is connected, right? Like if he doesn't have a shot, then they don't have to cover him that way. And if they don't have to cover him in that way, then the passes are less there. And it was the same way with Ben. So it's hard to. So much bad shit happened, but I did love Fultz the player before. I don't think he can ever get back there. So if Ben plays, even if he's the same guy as he was last year, then I'll still say Ben. But I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I think that's part of the interesting calculus of it. Is that like I think Fultz getting to this point, I agree with you. He will probably never get to the ceiling that you had imagined, if for no other reason that the shot, even though he shoots it now, and I think last full season I think he shot reasonably well at the line, but the shot is still so fucking weird. I would love to know what really happened. But given that I know he has battled to this point and he looks like he enjoys playing, which I cannot say the same for the other guy who has not battled past anything, I would take Fultz for the productiveness, not ceiling, but if I'm looking at total production for the rest of his career, because I do think it's on the table, and I've mentioned this, I think it's very much on the table that Ben doesn't play again this year, but I do think there is a small percentage chance that he doesn't play again. And I don't think that at all. Obviously, Fultz is playing. It's just only the Sixers could we have a number 1 pick on Fultz, a number 1 pick on Simmons, a number 2 pick on Okafor. Number 2 pick on Evan Turner.
3 was Okafor.
3 was Okafor. You're right. 2 was D'Angelo Russell. That draft, right? Yeah.
That's it. That's what it's like.
Speaking of fans, we'll
but
get
the vibes were good for a little bit.
Yep. We'll get to fan stuff in a second. Before that, you have a job as a dog owner. Your job is to make that dog's life as good as you can possibly make it. Their lives are not as long as ours. Much shorter. They have to be happy. They have to be healthy. BigBarker.com/Ricky. You make your dog happy and healthy by getting that dog a Big Barker. It is the only real dog bed on the market. A lot of them that you see in pet stores, you see on Instagram ads, they're not real dog beds. They're not. Just see them. You see the dog on it, sinks basically right to the floor. It's a glorified pillow. You see the Big Barker. You go to the Process Pup section at RightsToRickySanchez.com, you see a supported dog. Rebel is going to be 8 years old in April. Is spry as a motherfucker. And I think part of that is sleeping on a Big Barker. In fact, it's been proven. Penn Vet did a study. The dog's more mobility, better quality of life, less discomfort. That's why they're built, engineered by experts. Dogs of any size, even though it's a Big Barker, they do have the giant XL one for the huge dog. Barker Jr. for the small dog, reduces wear and tear on younger dogs, increases energy and mobility levels in older dogs. BigBarker.com/Ricky is where you go to get the Big Barker dog bed and the Process Pup patches, 2 of them. A 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. We have to send, what's his name? Maxey has a dog and does not have a Big Barker. We have to get Maxey a Big Barker. 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, they'll give you a free refund, even pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Now, one former Sixer who I know whose dog does have a Big Barker is Robert Covington. I know that for a fact. So Robert Covington, former Sixer, loved Ricky, loved Ricky player, I would say, of our people, was a big, popular guy. Got into one day of internet heat for a comment on there's a Bleacher Report post there's some kid, I forget his name. Kyle? Is his name Kyle? Some kid went to the Sixers game and sat right near the bench and was basically yelling at Simmons about the filing a grievance. And Kyrie Irving got in an argument with him. And it got on Bleacher Report, the video. And Robert Covington posted on the video, Philly at its finest, shrug emoji. Now you see why he wanted out. And of course, everybody got mad at Covington. You know, if anybody, of all the players we've talked about, there's anybody that saw the good and bad of Sixers fans, it was Robert Covington. That dude got booed for 2 fucking years, like straight. Of course, he got love from us. He got love when he came back, but he saw them both. He did follow up his Instagram comment with a tweet. Y'all kill me. I never said anything bad about Philly. LOL. Stop blowing what I said out of proportion. That's the problem with social media, trying to find something out of nothing. That's Philly fans all day. Didn't I resign there? So of course I love the city, booze and all. Mike, your comment on Robert Covington.
You know, everybody does this. I don't know. We've been through this cycle so many times. The fact that it's Covington is interesting because like he was, you know, Ben was universally supported, as we talked about, and then mirthlessly booed.
Yes.
So I would say that it was rightful. And as a proper, I'm glad that nothing went over the top. The Sixers losing by 1,000 probably helped nothing get over the top. At least for this one game. If Ben ever plays in Philly, then maybe, you know, hopefully not. It could change. But Covington was just inconsistent the way shooters are. Anybody that's billed as a shooter that's going to play when games count, they're going to have some hits and some misses. And Covington is just not an excellent shooter. He's not. He's not JJ. He's not Seth. But he's
willing.
He's willing, and he's significantly better at defense than both those guys, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, Covington was hit and miss. There were some times when he never really developed much more of an offensive game, although I think he can attack a closeout now and finish at the rim a little bit. You know, he's improved that, but he saw some shit. Some people were mean to him. Some people were nice to him. That's just like what it's like, I think, to be a person. Like, not everyone is going to universally like you, whether that's in person or on Twitter or whatever, especially when dealing with like thousands and thousands of people. So it's just like, I think everybody is a little bit of a narcissist in that way, where they're like, I thought you guys hated me when this, and you guys love me then this. And it's just like, yeah, that's fans. Like, some people don't think you're a good player. Some people think you're like an all defense team guy. And it's just like, they're different people. They have different thoughts. I will say Covington did earlier this month, a couple weeks ago, I opened up about like some mental health struggles that he was going through. I don't think he mentioned specifically in Philadelphia. I think he talked about it. He said, I was in that sunken place dealing with depression and stuff. I think that was either in Minnesota or Portland.
He was not happy to go to Minnesota. Yeah. And I don't think he was thrilled there. And, you know, when we saw him, it felt like he would have stayed hanging out with us all day, you know, when we saw him in Minnesota. But yeah, I don't think he was thrilled in Minnesota. No,
wasn't having a good time. So maybe that affected him also in Philly. And so it did, you know, hit harder for him than it would for some guys. I don't know. But I love Cov. I think he's a great player. I think he has had the fact that he's lasted in the NBA for this long and will presumably be an NBA player for at least like probably 2 to 4 more years. It rules. Is he like a guaranteed starter on an elite team? Like, no, but he's a helpful, like, useful player. And that's great. And the fact that he has like mixed feelings about Philly fans is like perfectly fine.
He was the original too important to our team guy. The Yang, Seth Curry, you know, when he first got here. I am the thing about the passionate fan thing in Philadelphia is that passion is like a little much both ways. We are a little much when things are going well, and we've seen that, and we are a little much when things are going poorly. And a lot of times it is players like in Covington, sort of, as you mentioned, is as a shooter and in his sort of level of performance, where superstars, Philadelphia fans almost seem like it's somebody that they're dating that's too hot and they don't want to treat them that bad because they might want to leave.
That's
it's
right.
like the Bryce Harper thing. And they feel like they can be meaner to somebody like Covington. And I think he got some of that shit. Nobody dealt with it more, both sides of it, than Covington. And I can assure anybody listening, that guy liked being here, was sad when he got traded, would be happy to be back. And that entire time when he got booed for a long time, never said a fucking word about it. Never said a word about it. The guy worked hard while he was here. He's allowed, I agree with you, he is allowed to have mixed feelings about Philly fans. But remember, mixed means some of it is good feelings. You know, that's what mixed is. So
I feel like your point about like the last elite player that Philadelphia fans booed while they were on the team, I mean, I would say Bobby Abreu. I know other people might not say he's elite, but I certainly would. I mean, you could say Donovan, although I don't think Donovan was that booed that often when he was here.
The team was, if they didn't perform, but Donovan wasn't booed. It wasn't like that. Yeah.
I would agree with that. So you'd probably have to go back to like Mike Schmidt.
Yeah.
At least, which I wasn't alive for most of that, but it
Randall.
seems like that's the situation that was, and he was in that was like early in his career, it seemed like, for the most part. So I think your point about like, it's funny that we like, okay, we can, what's the dividing line of like who we feel like we can boo? Right now it's Tobias Harris, obviously.
Yep.
But it is interesting, like if Harden is this bad in the playoffs, like I could see him getting booed.
Yes.
Just because he's not,
new.
I don't think Embiid will ever be booed again. There was like a little sequence when he like took it personally and was like, okay, didn't love it, but he was playful about it. Now he's too good and too much one of us to be booed. Mm-hmm. But I think Harden, if he has like a real stinker in a playoff game, I think he could get it.
CJ, I don't know if you ever read it, but before we move on to the hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week, I wanted to play the moment where Covington, it's in the rundown, CJ, if you can, where Covington got announced at the lottery party. So the lottery party of this year was 2018, and it was, if you weren't here for it, and it was right after, we did not plan on the lottery party being after the Sixers were eliminated from the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And we certainly didn't plan on our guest for the lottery party, Robert Covington, having just not a great series.
Awful.
So we were privately very worried about the reception and him, getting booed or something like that. So not only did he not get booed, he got a fucking ovation like none other. So this was the moment.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Covington. Now, Rob, we were hoping you weren't going to be able to beat.
That was cool.
Having a blast.
It was great. What a
Having a
great
blast.
moment that was, right? What a great moment. That was a lot of fun. So he did see the good and the bad. I was so fucking relieved when everyone cheered him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so relieved. The hardest stomach, speaking of YouTube, the hardest stomach YouTube comment of the week. This one comes from Sir Wallace. This is Walrus. This is after the Nets game. Performances like this, with the amount of talent on the team, should be 100% on the coach. 100%. Doc Rivers' attitude toward the media after games is like rub salt in the wound too. At least Brett would answer questions. I don't give Doc too much of the responsibility for the last two. I mean, he didn't have a great game against the Nets, but their flatness and their oddness, that's got to be something else going on. That can't be a Doc thing, can it?
I mean, I have no idea. I think the prioritizing Tobias and minimizing Maxey seems like an intentional thing. For it to just kind of happen as naturally as it is would be bizarre to me. So I do think he's like, okay, we know Maxey can go. Like, let's make sure we take some time for Tobias. I don't know. He hasn't said that. Who knows? And it was a nice Tobias game, and they did end up with the win. But I don't know what the fuck's going on with Maxey, and I do partially blame Doc for it. Like, there's just Embiid going back to like not trusting his teammates that much and hesitant to the pass. Even like that the play to end regulation, Embiid gets doubled.
What was that, man?
Well, Embiid gets doubled on the wing, like not quite the corner, but in the wing, and he just got to get rid of that ball faster.
But it doesn't seem like anybody moved.
Well, Maxey moved closer to him so that he opened up a pass so that if he gave him the ball 3 seconds earlier, there's like 9 seconds left when he caught it. He holds it for like 4 or 5 seconds and then throws a hot potato to Maxey, who just like hoisted it from like 30 feet out. If he gives it to him earlier, right when the double comes, rather than waiting for it, which he does sometimes too often, if he doesn't, feel like giving it up, I think he would rather like pump fake that guy into it, and the guy has to like go back to Maxey, and then he gets to operate one-on-one. I would really like to see Embiid all the time be a willing passer at the right time at the right angles. Like, it would be really, really helpful for this team, and I think he's partially to blame when the offense looks really, really slow and stiff.
One thing
so is Doc. Sorry.
One thing I didn't expect to be able to combine this season, maybe ever, were these two things: Brett Brown and NFTs. Real classic Ricky episode as we're talking about Covington and Brett Brown. This is from Adrian Wojnarowski. San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich had never spent a moment thinking about NFTs until his longtime assistant Brett Brown raised the idea on a phone call to coincide with his inevitable breaking of Don Nelson's record for regular season career coaching victories. What inspired enthusiasm about the idea for Popovich is that full proceeds of the 1,336 NFTs won for his career wins would go to the charity he's long championed, the San Antonio Food Bank. With Popovich surpassing Nelson on Friday night, the Spurs are making 1,336 NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, that will include 5 of his hand-drawn offensive play cards and 5 Spurs court designs over his 26 seasons as coach. Among Pop's plays, lock and lob, and side out of bounds. The play cards are synonymous with Popovich's legendary head coaching career, a system introduced to him as an assistant with the Golden State Warriors under Nelson himself. The collection will include 5 unique NFTs representing each of his NBA championships as Spurs coach that will include a play and a court design.
Seriously, I don't care. I'm jumping it.
Do you think Brett Brown owns an NFT?
No, absolutely not.
Do you think he actually suggested this to
Yes,
Popovich?
I would believe that he suggested it, but I would say it came from like his kid heard something, or he heard it in the ether, and he just went like, "This is the charitable view because I have to give it." Something just like, "Hey, I don't know, sell it for charity. Sell some. You don't have to do anything. You just tell like some assistant, like, hey, go figure this out." And just like sell some shit to charity. It costs you nothing. You don't have to do anything. We'll make some money for charity. You'll feel good like about giving back to the world. And Popovich was probably like, fine. That's it. I don't think Brett was like fucking dressing up like a blockchain guy and like doing a whole PowerPoint presentation of trying to sell Doc into it. Like, I don't think so. He was just like, I heard about this fucking NFT thing.
What is a blockchain guy dressed like?
I don't know. Your fucking unique numbers. I really don't think. I think he just doesn't. I think he's just like, let's make some money. Pop won't. He'll be happy about all the attention. He won't. He's probably not happy about all the attention he's getting. So like, let's try to, siphon that into something positive for a charity that you like. And it was like, okay, cool. But I don't think Brett's like an NFT guy. I don't think he's fucking joining the cartoon brigade of people that claim it's really not about art at all. But we all have the same art that we all sell for so much money.
Gang. You don't think he's gang?
I don't think Brett's gang. I don't think so. But there's a chance that Jonah Bolden got to him. I don't know. Who knows?
I did once find out from a guy that worked. I was renting a tux once for a wedding, and the guy that worked there had worked for a charity. Brett Brown donates his older suits, to a charity that gives them to people who are going on job interviews who don't have suits.
Love it.
And he donated that, and he left a bunch of play cards in the pocket once. And the guy got the play cards and asked if Brett wanted them back, and Brett said that he could have them. The guy showed me the play cards. It's the coolest fucking thing ever.
That is dope.
Before we
there
get
was
to,
just another while we're on Brett. Zach Lowe did a Popovich pod, which I'm partially through, but it was good to hear Brett's voice again. And Zach said twice on the podcast, like, coming back to the NBA soon. So it seems like there's been at least some conversation with Brett about like, all right, I'm gonna like be really invested in his son's playing career. Zach said that his son is apparently getting scouted.
Well, that was why I had heard he hadn't pursued anything now, so he could spend time with him and sort of develop.
So that's cool. So I wonder, I don't know how old his kid is. It's weird to think of him like at age like 9 or 10 when Nerlens was here, like shooting foul shots together. I would guess his son's probably like 15 or 16 at this point. So I wonder when Brett would come back. But it'd be cool to see him as an assistant coach, maybe somewhere that he respects or gets his own job sometime.
Yeah, it would be great. Would be great to see Brett back. I was talking to CJ before we get to the mailbag. I was talking to CJ before the pod, and we were talking about LL Pavorsky, our original sponsor of the Ricky, his Twitter. When the Sixers win, he does this. He posts a screenshot of his Twitter with the score up top, and then just some sort of random motherfucker that he's following right underneath. What is this? Why do you think he does this?
I don't know, but I don't think you want your jeweler to be that good at the internet.
Right. You want him to be sort of aware but shitty at it.
I think it's more charming that way, yeah.
Yeah. LL Pavorsky, look at it. He follows like 3,000 people. It's a lot of people to follow. Follows every shit posting Sixers account there is. Every Mr. Embiid, President Embiid, the King Embiid, every one of them that he follows. LL is the original sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Has sold engagement rings to over 250 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners. Also sold an engagement ring to Mike. What number are you? Are you 236? 232? Do you remember, Mike? What number are you?
236 sounds right.
Yeah, 236. Oh, there we go. What is he? 236.
Wow.
It's
his pinned tweet? Oh
yeah,
my God.
And he posted it like 3 days ago. Didn't this happen
I saw
like
that
3 months ago?
Alyssa doesn't love this picture, by the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I can imagine. Her eyes are... You're such a fucking asshole for posting this one too. Her eyes, she gets engaged.
No, this was like a charming, like we're already drinking. Here it is. But I didn't expect. It's not. This isn't like our engagement photos. LL. Treating like it is. Come on.
LL Pavorsky, you can't go anywhere else for an engagement ring. You just be a fucking moron. The weather is coming. The good weather is coming. It's a great time to get engaged. You don't want to get engaged in the cold. Get engaged in the warm. Do it with LL Pavorsky Jewelers. Make an appointment to discuss engagement rings with him. Do it by calling him, emailing him, or tweeting at him. The phone number is 215-627-2252. The email address is lee@llpavorsky.com. The Twitter to see his screenshots is @LLPavorsky. He's been at 707 Walnut for over 30 years. Just the best. The best. A supporter of our charities, Providence Animal Center, and Coded by Kids. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
There was Mr. Big Shot. Now there's Mr. Screenshot.
It's impressive you come up with those so quick, actually. Mailbag, send us a basketball and non-basketball question to rightstoRickySanchez@gmail.com. This comes from John. Hi, Spike and Mike. Chiming in briefly on doors versus wheels from the perspective of a parent. Even if you only count vehicular wheels and count all vehicle, home, and office doors, there are clearly more wheels. Do you know how many children's toys have wheels but no doors? Think of a Matchbox car. The number of toy vehicles far outnumber the actual vehicles and buildings with doors. Plus, you're not even counting all the adult child bicycles, scooters, motorcycles, segways, roller skates, and blades, even wheelie sneakers without doors. Keep up the great work. Thanks for the therapy. You don't seem very into the wheels versus doors debate.
I'm not. I hate it. I'm upset. I think it's wheels. I wanted it to be doors. It's wheels.
But can I just introduce one thing that this guy's doing? He's doing this argument tactic that is not true, where he goes, you're not even considering all of these wheels. Like, that would be me going, you're not even considering an office building that doesn't have any wheels in it at all. Of course I'm considering it. Considering all of it. There are a lot of buildings with a lot of doors. There's buildings with fucking 100 floors. How many doors are in that building?
I think this is a boring question masquerading as a thought experiment.
Okay.
And it's not a thought experiment.
It's
There's
just
no
a boring
experiment.
question. This comes from Anonymous. I kept it anonymous because of the beginning. Hi, CJ, Spike, and Mike. I'll stay anonymous because I'm a recent customer of LL. We've been working together for a few months now on the engagement ring, and it's finally in hand. Mine, not on hers yet. I could have not envisioned a more professional and smooth process, thanks to LL and the Ricky. Non-basketball question. How long are your number 2 breaks at work? I'm back in the office and treasure the 10 minutes of judgment-free phone scrolling. Love you guys.
Well, so I'm not in the office right now. My room, my writer's room is on Zoom. So anytime anybody like turns their screen off for any length of time, everyone is joking that they're taking a shit. And so if I have to like take a phone call, I like Abby. If I have to take a phone call,
She hates our non-basketball questions, but Abby also doesn't like basketball talk.
God bless her.
Yeah.
So I just know if I have to like, if somebody like rings the doorbell or I have to go, everyone, I'm just in my head, I'm like, people are assuming I'm taking a shit and I'm not taking a shit. And I would say if I was taking a shit, but I'm not. So that is always there. But, you know, I think if you get past 15 minutes, that's not a work time. That's not a work time dump, I think.
Yeah. I get in and get out on that one. If I need a break, I'll take a walk. You know, that's now not everybody has the same. To be honest, not everyone has the same. You know, not everybody can just go take a walk. I did when I worked at this radio trade magazine while I was on the air at WISP called FMQB, and my job was very tedious, and I worked late the night before always, so I was on very little sleep. So I would go into their bathroom and take a nap in the bathroom on the toilet sometimes. No one ever said anything, but I wonder in retrospect if anyone ever thought about that. This comes from Zach. Hey guys, I keep thinking about who could replace Tobias in the offseason in the starting lineup, but I keep going back to keeping him. Who is your ideal dream starting power forward in this lineup? And then who is your actually realistic power forward if we move on from him? I can't think about it that way. I just want somebody who shoots quick and plays defense.
But the defense you need is, I think I would add athleticism. And so that's why Covington is not quite the answer for me, because he's not athletic at this point in his career and maybe never was.
It's Jay Crowder.
But Jay Crowder's not athletic either at this point. So I'm not ready to, it's a question that we should answer and we should get there. I just spent so much time on trade machine for so many months leading up to the trade deadline that I'm just like,
Harrison Barnes.
taking a break. Yeah, Harrison Barnes is obviously a name that was there. But also another guy that's probably theoretically better than we think he is again.
Yes, but probably better than Tobias. Non-basketball question, who do you want the Eagles to draft next month? I've not thought about that at all.
I would just love some fucking monster athletes on the line. Like, just like
Their line's getting old.
3 edge guys and an edge guy that actually plays linebacker. Like, just guys that are just going to absolutely murder some folks.
So not Derek Barnett.
No, never Derek Barnett again. I would also like a sick corner. It feels like the Sixers or the Eagles haven't had like an actually good young corner a long time. Like Avonte Maddox, people would like, he's good and he's fine, but like he's not actually actual good. He's just like fine.
From Tim, a non-basketball question. Do you and your partner or family have any weird traditions?
I'm sure we do.
We have to, right?
I
can't think of any weird traditions with my wife.
I don't have it, but I feel bad not giving any answer. So I'll pivot to a question that wasn't answered and just talk about something else. Do you ever watch like highlight videos on like, in commercials on like League Pass or something, or like NBA.com or something?
Sure.
When they'll like in between, if you're watching another game on League Pass, I obviously have to watch Sixers on League Pass because I'm not in Philly. So at halftime or whatever, it'll just play like the same highlight videos of like the top 10. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And
it happens. Yeah, it happens during halftime when they
on League Pass, right?
Yeah, on League Pass.
And I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, so I'm really stretching my legs here. They do there's like an announcer that presumably works for NBA.com that does like, and I'll announce it. In Indiana, we have this thing, and they set up the highlight and they go, do you notice? And the answer is yes, you did notice it. But have you ever thought about why they always fucking rhyme? Like the guy who writes the highlights, it'll be like number 9, and it's fine in the dining in Indiana tonight because Malcolm Brogdon is looking time, whatever anything. Like it just insisting every single highlight rhymes. And it blows my mind. I've obviously watched it so often, and I'll just mute it now because I'm like, who is asking for this in the world? Okay, you say it. But like, for me, it's just like, I'm blown away every time I hear it, where I'm like, this guy spent so much time thinking about it, and it's not making the experience 1% better for anyone. You're not singing a song. This isn't a play. You're not a poet. Just show a highlight of a player doing something cool. And even if it was look, if it was like 1 out of 10 highlights, it'll be like, and here's a fun rhyme that you didn't see coming. I would accept it. I would accept once in a while. But every motherfucking highlight is a rhyme. And I'm just imagining that guy sitting there and going like, I don't have a rhyme for 7. I don't have a rhyme for 7. I'm going to lose my job because I don't have a rhyme for 7. And it's just like, no one gives a shit. Why is he doing this? Just make your job easier. Stop rhyming. I don't get it. It blows my mind.
So I've never noticed that they rhyme all the time. And I have to say, and I've said this many times, I generally tune out the audio when I'm watching a game. It's loud enough. I guess I just don't hear it and I don't notice it. Now I have to pay attention to it.
You don't. Anytime. You don't have to pay don't have to pay that much attention, because in the top 10 plays, it's going to be right there, all 10. 10 for 10. You're rhyming. All of a sudden, you're in a fucking like fourth grade class, and we're doing the most basic. And oh my god, it really does. Maybe I'll come around on it where I actually like respect and like it, but right now I'm in a phase where I'm like, I can't believe someone chooses to spend their time this way.
How do you feel about, because the season is now a lost one, and he's got to find a way to make the season about him, LeBron deciding that he needs to win the scoring title over Embiid to justify their under 500 performance and prove that he's not washed?
Embiid tonight, 35, so he did take the lead over LeBron and Giannis, but
LeBron does have a game tonight.
He has a game tonight against Phoenix. They're losing by a lot.
Shocker.
I think LeBron is doing this because he assembled such a bad team, did such a miserable job doing this, which he's done time and time again. So the fact that he like thinks he's good at being a GM is beyond me. But when you're really good at everything, I guess you just assume you're also good at everything else. So I think he just needs to score this much because of how bad everybody else is. But I mean, he's still doing it 37. It's crazy. It's crazy how good he still is. It's crazy how still good. They're not good. They're a very bad team, but it's crazy how good he still is.
That's mostly his fault, though. That team. I mean,
yeah, and also Anthony Davis is not as good as people like wanted him to be for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
He's just not.
All right, we will. What are we back Wednesday night? Back Wednesday after some game. Oh, Cleveland. Yeah, because there's Denver and then there's Cleveland. Denver, Cleveland, Dallas. Dallas, who's playing well, has turned things around after their Davis Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie. Big Davis Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, they beat Boston today. A big big
bucket from Dinwiddie.
Dinwiddie was one of my guys for coming out of the draft for a long time. Loved him. Very happy that they beat Boston. Embiid, Jokic is going to be cool. It's also going to be obnoxious. I would like, we mentioned it in the intro, but like I would like one or both of Harden and Embiid to rest some games here and there. Embiid is now going to be playing the most games of his career this season.
Well, the good news is they played like 45 minutes each tonight in the first night of it.
So that's good to hang your hat on. So I would like, this would have been a game to rest at least one of them. They needed overtime anyway, and a win's a win. But yeah, there's some more back-to-backs coming, so I would like at least one of them to start sitting here and there for those.
We will be back after the Cleveland game. Hopefully we get... Would you rather he sit against Denver, Embiid, or play against Denver?
No, it'd be cool to see them get up against Denver, especially after I think they'll probably maybe play Denver and then sit against Cleveland. Give them a couple days off to chill before the because they have an LA trip coming up soon. Yeah, I mean, after the Mavs, it's Raptors, Heat back to back, and then Lakers, which I might be at, and then Clippers, and then Suns, and then home for the Bucks. We're in a stretch.
Yeah,
we're in the stretch.
Well, good thing they're clicking on all cylinders. That's
all cylinders, baby.
Yep. All right, we'll talk to you Wednesday. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah, you. No lick face.